This is the Faith, Family, and Fundamentals with Fran podcast.
Hey, family. Welcome to Faith, Family, and Fundamentals with Fran. Thank you for listening. I want to encourage those imprisoned today. Please don't sign off, because there is more than one kind of imprisonment. And I believe we have all been imprisoned at one time or another, even if only in our minds. Of course, God is a heart fixer and a mind regulator. It is He who has promised to keep us in perfect peace if we can keep our minds stayed on the Lord. Every good man's steps are ordered by the Lord. Nothing that has taken place has happened by mistake, coincidence, or chance. And yes, no matter what you think or what it looks like, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. Such a statement becomes hard to accept when the thing that is working for your good has taken you away from your family, your children, and those you love. It becomes a fight between good and evil when you pray day in and day out, yet you go to bed nightly and awake every morning in an environment that neither fits you nor a healthy mindset. But you keep pushing and praying that one day your appeal will be heard and honored. You see, the system has an educator like me teaching young people that all are innocent until proven guilty. But it is hard to utter those words to a young man of 34 years who has spent the past 8 years of his precious life locked up after a gun and cocaine was found at his residence. Of course, the two charges were the result of an illegal search of his residence. Yet the young man, my nephew Stanley Jr., we call him Stan, was found guilty even after it was well documented that his home was searched in the absence of a search warrant and without his permission. A point that the attorney did not even bother to mention. This is where I shout, where is the justice? Since justice happens to be the use of power as an appointed by law. Honored standards to support fair treatment and due reward. In its most simple form, justice is an ethical, legal concept that people behave in a way that is fair, equal, and balanced for everyone, be they red, yellow, black, or white. Today it appears that justice is unjust. Now, how could that be? I must admit, I have seen murderers, molesters, rapists, and police officers who have committed public executions serve less than 8 years and still counting that Stan has had to endure behind bars. Some have even emerged from lockup to see the light of day again before growing too old to appreciate the beauty and breath of freedom. I will add, Stan was not arrested wielding and waving a gun. The weapon was found at his home. Additionally, he was not caught selling or bagging cocaine. The drugs were also discovered at his residence during an illegal search. Is this justice, or is justice a fleeting notion available to some but unrealistic to so many, based seemingly on the presence of pigmented skin and, in today's heated climate, blue uniforms? Now, I understand fully that it is so easy to sit in judgment from my vantage point or yours, those who are not locked away and stripped of freedom to move, come and go as you please. It is too easy to say, if you've done the crime, you should do the time, which I actually believe in. But what if the time is disproportionately affecting men of color, when the same crimes are committed by their Caucasian counterparts? I know it is easy to look the other way or pretend it is not your struggle, not your fight, when it does not affect one of your sons, your brother, your nephew, your uncle, or someone you love. We are good at suggesting, if only with our actions, that a matter or the circumstances of others have nothing to do with us. You see, silence gives consent. No reply is often your compliance, quietly present within your failure to respond. I agree, it's snugly embedded in silence, even if unintended. But I am speaking today to announce to you that we are all affected by the issues that affect others. While I have the right to remain silent, I refuse to do so. Of course, it is just as important to know when to speak as it is to understand when to shut up. You see, my nephew, Stanley Jr., is one of the men I described. This young brother has spent the last 8 years of his young life behind bars, while his 3 children grew up without their father. His mother buried his own father in his absence, all forcing him to grieve separate and apart from a waiting family that really needed him, the same people that he needed for his own sanity and comfort. Such matters truly drive home the fact that the system cares for no one, especially not young Black men who, in their view, just happen to be another statistic. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in there being consequences for our actions, but I do want those consequences to be fitting and fair. Yes, justice must be served, but properly fitting the crime and not unfairly befitting one's color. I must speak of this broken system that is in dire need of repair. A system that changes the rules from one individual to another, too often exacting disproportionate punishment to young Black men. It almost feels like they have no problems locking our men away and throwing away the keys. Additionally, such a viable business, prison that is, costs everyone, and I do mean everyone. First, the family pays dearly. A family is left to survive and fend for themselves without their fearless leader, who is oftentimes the breadwinner. Children are left to grow up and figure it all out in the absence of their father. God bless those fearless women, those virtuous women who are awesome mothers. But no woman can be or take the place of a father. I know, because I was blessed to have both parents present and accounted for, and I know my world and my outlook would be so different had I been deprived of either my mother or father. Society, even those of us unrelated, pay with our tax dollars. And the absence of men, even those who, according to their crime, could have served their appropriate time right here within our communities, supporting and caring for their own children and families. Each time a husband or father, a wife or a mother is locked away, the family is punished. They actually do time, living, struggling, growing, and existing without the absent parent. Once again, robbing our young people of the strong males who should and could be making a positive difference in the lives and choices of so many. Punishment for a drug law violation is not only meted out by the criminal justice system, but is also perpetuated by policies denying child custody, voting rights, employment, business loans, licensing, student aid, public housing, and other public assistance to people with criminal convictions. Even if a person does not face jail or prison time, a drug conviction often imposes a lifelong ban on many aspects of social, economic, and political life. To remedy the issue, we should fight to decriminalize drug possession, removing a major cause of arrest and incarceration of primarily people of color, helping more people receive drug treatment, and redirecting law enforcement resources to prevent serious and violent crime. Secondly, we can eliminate policies that result in disproportionate arrest and incarceration rates by changing police practices, rolling back harsh mandatory minimum sentences, and repealing sentencing disparities. And third, we can end policies that exclude people with a record of arrest or conviction from key rights and opportunities. These include barriers to voting, employment, public housing, and other public assistance, loans, financial aid, and child custody. Just think of how many brothers, how many black men do you know that have committed a nonviolent crime, went to serve his time, and could have very well served his time within the community, where he could have maintained viable employment and helped to take care of his own children, as opposed to the system imposing more and more tax dollars on the working class, often the working poor, I might add, to assist and provide for the children of incarcerated men and women who could have been taking care of their own. Additionally, every black man in prison is not bad, dangerous, or a degenerate. In other words, many are regular people like me and you, who just happen to have gotten caught or exposed at an inopportune time. To clarify, I do not know a perfect person. So in the telling words of Jesus Christ, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. It seems we have all erred and done something or some things of which we are not very proud. Some things that we do not talk about or we do not announce for public scrutiny. So if you are that person pointing out the shortcomings of others or staring down your nose at those you think are inferior, please reaffirm your posture and have some empathy before God's hand is forced to remind you and place you in a mindset of mercy and hindsight for humility. From my vantage point, there are far more and greater issues to resolve when we are looking at the murder rates within the very areas where law enforcement is hardest on drugs and drug traffickers. In 12 states, more than half of the prison population is black. Those states include Alabama, Delaware, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Mississippi, New Jersey, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Now, Maryland has a prison population at 72% African American, and they top the nation with that ratio. In 11 states, at least 1 in 20 adult black males is in prison. One researcher suggested that poverty and chronic mental health problems often play into disparities in the criminal justice system. Impoverished people often cannot get high-quality counseling and rehabilitation before their sentencing, affecting the prison terms that they're able to get. It is especially troubling that a black man can be so quickly locked away for unreasonable amounts of time for drugs, drug paraphernalia, or a weapon being found at his residence, with no explanation, few questions, if any at all. Yet a white officer can murder a black or brown person in broad daylight while being recorded by multiple cameras, including the officer's own body cam. And it seems to take an act of Congress to make the police officer accountable, at the least, for well-documented, egregious acts. Such documented truths beg the necessity for the Black Lives Matter movement. Historically, this is a racist culture. The overrepresentation of Black Americans in the justice system is well documented. Black men constitute about 13% of the male population, but about 35% of those incarcerated in this country. 1 in 5 Black people born in 2001 is likely to be incarcerated in their lifetime, compared to 1 in 10 Latino people and 1 in 29 white people. These statistics once again shows great disparity within our unjust legal system, and the only hopeful report that I can pull from this dark statistic, or these dark statistics, is the rate of incarceration among Blacks has declined considerably within the past 15 years, thank God. However, discriminatory criminal justice policies and practices at all stages of the justice process still exist today and have unjustifiably disadvantaged Black people, including through disparity in the enforcement of seemingly race-neutral laws. Studies have found that Black people are more likely to be stopped by the police, detained pre-trial, charged with more serious crimes, and sentenced more harshly than white people, even when controlling for things like offense severity. Now let me stop with all of the statistical data and get back to Stan and the other gentlemen who are incarcerated, particularly in South Carolina, because that's where Stanley is incarcerated. Please allow me to encourage you. There is no difference between those of us who walk freely and those who are incarcerated, except the imprisoned are physically separated from the general population and not allowed to move about freely. Trust me, many of the same people who pretend they are better than are often worse than those imprisoned. At least those incarcerated have a reason that impedes them from caring for their children, their elderly parents, or their personal affairs. Just ask those who are critiquing the most, and you will find that we all have struggles. According to God's word, all have sinned and fallen short of God's word. I often remind myself, there, but for the grace of God, go I. You see, I am not perfect and I don't always get it right. So God's grace and mercy has allowed me and so many others to remain out of lockup in the unjust throes of an unlawful system of law. I urge Stan and every person who is in prison to get your mind right. I know it sounds cliche, but I need you to change your thought process. First of all, you are imprisoned, no longer a prisoner. Please understand, our ancestors were enslaved more than 400 years ago, but the only slaves were slaves within their own minds. So I encourage you, while acknowledging you have been imprisoned, always remember and state, if only to yourself, that I am not a prisoner, because that would be in alignment with being locked away and separated mentally as opposed to physically. Remember, those ancestors were enslaved, but the only people accepting that they were slaves was accepting such a label mentally. Being slaves and prisoners requires a mental acceptance, which I neither want you to own nor use as your identity. Yes, you are imprisoned, but will not be a prisoner. Secondly, Romans 4:17, call upon those things that be not as though they were. I want you to proclaim each time you think about it, I am free because God's grace is sufficient for me. I am free because God's grace is sufficient for me. God's word has reminded us that the power of life and death are both in the tongue. Speak life, healing, wellness, prosperity, and sweet freedom. Of course, they all belong to you, but at times we forget the power that exists within our own body's smallest member, in the tongue. You are who and what God says you are, and God said you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your worth cannot be established by past transgressions, even if you are currently making amends. You are neither your mistake, your sin, nor your crime, and the fact that you have survived your situation and you are still alive speaks to God's purpose. Yes, I said God's purpose. You see, his purpose takes precedence over our problems and our plans. The fact that you are listening today confirms that your situation and current circumstances were necessary for your development. I said they were necessary, as difficult as that might be to hear in your current circumstances. God's word has declared, I know the plans I have for you, for your life, plans to prosper you, plans to give you a hope and a future. As harsh as it may sound, while you sit in an imprisoned state, through your matter, embarrassment, and humiliation, this was the path that God allowed to build your character, a resilient heart, and your spiritual stamina. Your test, this test, will represent one of your greatest testimonies. You see, God is a heart fixer and a mind regulator. So study his word often, and he will keep you in perfect peace. Once again, your God purpose is far greater than your present separated circumstances. Refuse to let incarceration take over your mind and soul. God promised to set the captives free, then grant peace and prosperity untold. You are a man of valor, a man of greatness, one of growth and seed, a woman of substance, of knowledge and understanding, whose mind is fresh and free. A prisoner, they say, who night and day meditate on what to do. One who often gets quiet, whose patience inspires all you love and those who love you. Today I say, declare and decree, you are God's very elect, his chosen to endure a journey, a path, while many lives you still affect. The patience, prayers, and times of fears many others could not endure, but keep faith in God, pray and trust the process. It's what God sustains you for. Others may judge, wonder, and worry how you press and continue to stand. Just know God promised never to leave nor forsake you. It is in his capable hands. Oh, I understand it is not easy, and the journey is wet with tears. But God said, cast all of your cares on him. Focus on his word and shatter your fears. To watch and pray and study every day. No talent or time to waste. But get in God's word, meditate day and night. Seek to please him with all willing haste. Your freedom, your case, your leaving that place is in your testimony, your words. It's in the song that you sing, the wisdom you bring, anticipation of good news you've heard. Please know that after waiting, praying, and watching others, it is only a matter of time till you will be the next decision made with deliberate precision. Precious freedom you will soon find. Imprisoned, yes, but definitely blessed to be on God's heart and in his hand. Just know without a doubt and always pray about you're a valuable part of God's plan. The last will be first and the first will be last. Never forget God spoke to the matter, said your former days are base, regardless of what's taken place. Greater will come in your latter. To each imprisoned woman and man, God loves you, everyone. Please understand, according to his plan, your best is yet to come. Today I say, declare and decree, you are God's very elect, his chosen to endure a journey, a path, while many lives you still affect. Through patience, prayers, and times of fears, many others could not endure. Keep faith in God, pray and trust the process. It's what God sustained you for. Refuse to let incarceration take over your mind and soul. God promised to set the captives free, then grant peace and prosperity untold. Well, family, this is number 52 of Faith, Family, and Fundamentals with Fran. I want you to remember, especially if you are physically incarcerated. God promised to restore all that was taken from you. He also promised never to leave nor forsake you. So keep looking up and know that God sees you. He is with you and will never, ever abandon you. When the going gets tough, and I know that it will sometimes, remember, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. In other words, God's purpose is served when we go through our trials and tribulations. God has spoken to us according to Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. You see, it is not over until God says it is over. Furthermore, he promised that your latter days would be greater than your former. In other words, it is not how you started or even the difficulties you face during your journey. The character building, life fulfilling process that molds you into the strong, amazing, prosperous, God ordained individual that you are becoming. It only matters how you end. Even if you can neither see nor feel it at this moment, diamonds are formulated from immense, intense heat. So the fire-filled process that you endure today is actively molding you into the beautiful, shiny, priceless diamonds you are becoming for tomorrow. Hence, your latter days will be greater than your former days. I pray God's continued favor, grace, mercy, and sweet freedom over each of you. Please don't forget to say something on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn page. Remember, you can listen to me on Amazon Music as well as my new platform on YouTube. I welcome your questions, comments, critiques, and suggestions on topics you'd like to explore. Who knows, you might just end up being a guest on an upcoming broadcast. Remember, I'm just a regular girl navigating this diverse world. I'm looking forward to each of you. Until then, take care of yourself, each other, and stay blessed.
The Faith, Family, and Fundamentals with Fran podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Log on to castropolis.net.